me go.
Sir, very good morning, sir. Director HRDC, sir. Anybody from HRDC is there in the line? Okay. Very good morning, participants. I want to know whether Miss Mangair Karsi is there online. Mangair Karsi, madam. And Dr. Vijaya Rajeswari. Is Mangair Karsi and Dr. S. Vijaya Rajeswari. So, dear participants, as you know well, as per the director's HRD's instruction, I request you all please switch on your video. All are requested to turn on your video. So shortly we're going to start our today's morning session. May I audible to you all?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, okay.
Yes,
Mrs.
sir.
Mangal Karsi Madam and Dr. S. Vijaya Rajeswari. So, Ms. Mangal Karsi Madam, you please, if you are in line, you can just unmute and say hi. Dr. Vijaya Rajeswari. So anybody from HRDC, please unmute and answer to me. Shall we start session now?
Yes, sir. You're audible, sir.
Okay. Shall we start the session now?
Okay, sir. Sir, your mic is mute.
Yeah, thank you. Very good morning to one and all gathered here. So, on behalf of UGC SRDC of Bharatdasan University, I wholeheartedly welcome today's resource person, Dr.T.Asokan sir, who is an associate professor of Department of History of Bharatdasan University, Tiruchirappalli. So, sir, Asokan sir, very good morning, sir. Asokan sir.
Sir, good morning.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir. Shall we start, sir? Session?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, thank you, sir. I request one of the participants, Dr. M. Amada ma'am,
Sir.
to introduce our today's speaker, Professor Asokan.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay.
So please introduce ma'am briefly within 5 minutes. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good morning to all my dear beloved professors. Today we are here with an amazing personality, Dr.T.Asokan, the associate professor who has an experience for 20 years on teaching and research. He is the director for Center of Nehru Studies, Bharatdasan University, Tiruchirappalli, and head of the Department of History. He is a man of excellence. He has published so many research papers. For example, History of Science and Technology in India since independence in the year 2018. And SLV, the first indigenous launching vehicle of India, a historical perspective, etc., etc. He has also organized a number of lectures, seminars, conferences, workshops, and events. He is a member of Senate in Bharatdasan University. He is a life member in Indian History of Congress. He is also a life member in Tamil Nadu Archaeological Society, and he is an executive member in Tamil Nadu History Congress. We are so proud and lucky to have an amazing personality with us here. We kindly invite you to deliver a speech. Please, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
On behalf of HRDC of Bharatdasan University, on behalf of our University, I welcome Professor T.Asokan sir to present his lecture. Please, sir.
Thank you, madam, for introducing me, and also I'd like to thank my good friend, coordinator of this orientation. Very good morning, everybody, dear colleagues from various university and colleges across the country, uh, coordinators of the faculty induction program, and the staff members of the HRDC of Bharatdasan University. At the outset, I would like to thank the director of HRDC for the opportunity to sitting before you and share my thoughts with regard to the Indian Constitution. So I am sincerely grateful to him for his continuous encouragement to me and also give the opportunity to take the class for the faculty members who are supposed to participate in the induction program. Of course, today our discussion is Indian Constitution. Before we are going to discuss the Indian Constitution, of course, the subject is lengthy. Everyone is very much aware. Indian Constitution is the written Constitution and lengthiest Constitution. But it's very difficult to understand how all the articles can be understand and how the rights and duties that were defined in the Constitution is assimilating is a difficult task. Of course, I am not sure I can communicate everything from top to bottom of the Indian Constitution. It is not possible within the session. But I would like to make some ideas with regard to the Constitution, and I am very much happy if my word inducing you to going further, and for the further reading to understand the Constitution, because the Constitution subject is not exclusively for the people who are going to prepare the competitive examinations or people who have the separate subject either in the PG level or the UG level. But apart from that, the subject is highly essential. As we are the citizen of the country, it is our duty and responsibility to understand what is our fundamental rights and duties, and what's the meaning of parliamentary form of the government, and what's the meaning of independency of the judiciary. So these things are very essential. So basically, we should understand whether we are going to practice or not. There is a different story. It is absolutely essential. Every citizen of the country must understand some ideas with regard to the Constitution. That is why this subject is very essential. Okay. So now we are entered into our subject, that is the Constitution. Before I am going to discuss the Constitution, of course, first of all, you should understand what's the meaning of Constitution. That's a very important one. Is it any definition for the Constitution? If you look at this, see, there are many political scientists who gave different ideas with regard to the Constitution. But what I have understand with regard to the Constitution, as far as myself is concerned, Constitution is a form of a document. It's a form of a document to regulate state and society. To regulate state and society. State means that is government, and society. It should be in a form of written or unwritten. It should be in a form of written or unwritten. See, Constitution is what we can say is a kind of document. It should be in a form of written or unwritten to regulate state and society. This is a simple understanding. So you can clearly understand, okay, the basic purpose of the Constitution is to regulate legally state and society, government as well as the society or people who are living in the country. They must be governed by the series of laws that were enacted by the country. So that is a basic purpose. But another thing is we can say that it's a written or either written or unwritten. So everyone is very much aware of the written constitution because most of the countries in the world having written constitution. Country like India, United States of America, Switzerland, and etc. Countries having the well-written constitution. However, very few countries like United Kingdom, that is England, and then New Zealand and Saudi Arabia, who having uncodified law or unwritten constitution. So the question is how it is possible, even though we have the written constitution, but there are a number of issues within the written constitution. Frequently, from time to time, the apex court intervene the constitution provisions and everything. But how it is possible under written constitution to run the country? This was the major question. See, in UK, United Kingdom, they possess the unwritten constitution. That means we cannot say the creation of the constitution in UK. It is what we can call the evolution of the constitution. Evolution of the constitution in the sense, I would like to give the one example. In the year 1215, King John was the ruler of England who released Magna Carta. Magna Carta is a document. It contained the rights of the basic rights of the human being, particularly the rights of the United Kingdom. This may be considered as the first step towards the British Constitution. After that, the Constitution slowly, steadily evolved in United Kingdom. Particularly, the struggle between monarch and the parliament were considered as a part of the constitution development, because both the institution, that is monarch and the parliament, wanted to establish their power, political supremacy. So this may be considered as what we can call the evolution of the constitution. Finally, parliament emerged as victorious, and Britain now enjoying the limited monarch. Parliament is the real power of Britain. So all the developments are unwritten. There is no codified law. Of course, some few laws may be written, but most of the provisions are unwritten. Even I can give the one example. British Constitution is evolution. It's not creation. If you look at the Indian Constitution, say that is a creation. We can say our Constitution having 2 years, 11 months, and 18 days. This period of the creation of the Constitution. See, the Constituent Assembly that was made on 9th December 1946. The entire Constitution was adopted by the Constituent Assembly on 26th November 1949. So during this period, the period is called what we can call creation of the Constitution. But you can't say like United Kingdom. The creation of Magna Carta, that is in 1215, start from 1215 to till date, the Constitution was evolved, and the evolution process is going on. One example, in the year 2005, there was a Reform Act passed by the British Parliament, in which this Reforms Act paved the way for the creation of the Supreme Court in Britain. And also in 2009, Supreme Court was established in Britain, consists of 12 judges. See, before 2009, there was no Supreme Court in Britain. The work of the Supreme Court was done by the upper house of the Parliament, that is House of Lords. So for the first time, Supreme Court was established in Britain in the year 2009 only. If you say the British Constitution is the oldest constitution, definitely the judicial system of Britain is very youngest system. It's a very youngest system. This is the point you should understand. Okay. Why I am telling this? Britain is a very classic example for the unwritten constitution. That is the things I would like to say. So the point is, as far as the present constitution or our constitution is concerned, first of all, we should look at, before the constitution, the three organs of the government, that is legislature, executive, and the judiciary. These were the three organs of the government. See, if you can say the judiciary, legislature, and executive vested in the hands of one individual, that person emerged as the dictator. Even the time of ancient, medieval, in some extent modern days also, the three organs in the hands of one individual. So they become the absolute monarch. They established a very tyrannic rule. So it is undemocratic rule. If you wanted to establish the democratic rule, the three organs must function independently. So this theory, the independent theory or the separation theory, of course it was pronounced various scholars from different times in different manner. But it is officially, for the first occasion, the theory was pronounced by Montesquieu, who was a French philosopher. Montesquieu was a French philosopher. In his work, Spirit of Law, it was published in the year 1748, in which he stated that is separation of power. See, separation of power is nothing but the above mentioned three organs of the government must function separately. It should not controlled by one another. Each organs of the government must function independently. This is a basic objective of the separation of power. So, I think United Nations, USA, United States of America, was the first ever country to practice the separation of power. So, of course, if you look at the United States of American Constitution, that is totally different from the Indian Constitution. Of course, we can say some of the provisions that were maybe taken from United States of America. But the point is, their constitution, their practice is totally different, because they practice what we can call the presidential form of government. Here we practice the parliamentary form of government. The two organs are totally different. Two institutions are totally different. Okay, that is two things. But why I am telling this, the separation of power that was first pronounced by Montesquieu, of course, was the French philosopher who wanted to raise his voice against the despotic ruler of France, Louis XIV, Louis XV, Louis XVI. But unfortunately, he was not in a position to raise the voice against the monarch, so that he wanted to establish some theoretical framework in the name of separation of power. Okay, so that is the point you should understand. So the theoretical framework is the common theoretical framework, so that almost all the countries, those who are wanted to ensure their democratical norms and values, they wanted to adopt the separation of power. But India was not completely adopted the separation of power. Of course, the three organs is interdependent with each other. That is a different story. I will tell later. Fine. Now, coming to our constitution, that is what we can call the present constitution. See, if you look at the present constitution, first of all, you should understand the three phases of the constitution. First phase was historical background, how this constitution was historically evolved. See, if you look at the parliamentary institution, if you look at the presidents, prime minister, independence of the judiciary, and etc. Even official languages, education, and many of the things you can look at the constitution. The question is whether these development evolved or created within a night or within a month or within a year. No, it's not. It took more than 100 years for its evolution. So that is why we can see the historical background of the constitution, the first step. Second step is structure of the constitution. Structure of the constitution in the sense, see how many articles in our constitution. Because say the 395 articles, now it's raised 460, like that, and 22 chapters, 8 schedule originally, and now we have 12 schedule. So these are all the structure. The structure cannot be changed. Of course, amendment may be there, but the structure is almost basic structure is still there. So the structure of the constitution, of course, is very essential in order to completely understand the provisions of the constitution. Of course, it is very difficult. All the structure of the constitution understand it's not easy task, but slowly and steadily you can understand. The third aspect I would like to mention, working of the constitution. That is third phase, working of the constitution. What's the meaning of working of the constitution? See, working of the constitution is nothing but for the first 70 years, the constitution was adopted number of amendments. I think more than 100 amendments. More than 100 amendments that was passed by the Parliament. Okay. Not only amendment, even apex court, the Supreme Court, delivered various judgments that closely associated or interpreting the articles of the Constitution. That is the point we should understand. See, the interpretation of the Supreme Court on Constitution shall be treated as a part of the Constitution. And we can say it's a working of the Constitution. See, working of the Constitution is nothing but amendment made in the Constitution, one side, and the judgments, Constitution-related judgments delivered by the Supreme Court shall be considered as a part of the Constitution. Hence, both the things may be treated as the working of the Constitution. Working of the Constitution is very interesting, and of course, if your son and daughter are going to prepare any one of the competitive examination, definitely most of the questions may be asked the working of the Constitution. That is the things is very essential. Fine. Now we come to the first phase, that is the historical background of the Constitution or Constitution development. See, this was start from 1773 to 1935. That is Constitution development or historical background of the Constitution. See, the 1773 to 1935. Start from the Regulating Act to 1935 Government of Act passed by the British Parliament. This may be called Constitution development or what we can call historical background of the Constitution. See, this phase may be classified into two categories. The historical background again classified into two categories. That the first was 1773 to 1850. 1773 to 1850. That's first. The second was 1861 to 1935. So this two classification. Why this classification made? What was the significance in this two classification? I tell you. The first classification that was started from 1773 to 1850. Why? Because in this period, India was ruled by the British East India Company. This is basic, you can understand. India was ruled by the British East India Company. Everyone knows that. And then why 1861 to 1935? Because India was ruled by the British Parliament or Crown. This is the basic reason. This is the basic reason. The classification took place. Apart from that, is it any significance because of this classification? Of course, that the basic significance of the first phase, 1773 to 1858, was almost all the acts which were passed in this period. The basic objectives of all the act was to reduce and control power of the East India Company. Reduced and control the power of the East India Company. See, suddenly the questions may be rising in your mind. See, company is a British company. The act were passed by the parliament is the British parliament. Why they wanted to reduce and control the power of the East India Company? This was a major question. See, we can say, even though the company was the British company, but it's not a government-oriented company. It's a private company. British East India Company was a private organization. It was established on 31st December in 1600. So in which there are a number of merchants who became the shareholders of the company. At that time, England was ruled by a lady named Elizabeth. Elizabeth first. Of course, now also Queen was called Elizabeth II. So Elizabeth lady, golden age of England, Elizabeth era may be called as a golden age of England may be called. See, Elizabeth also one of the shareholders of the British East India Company. That was the thing. See, British Parliament and Crown gave the power, that is that monopoly, trade monopoly, to British East India Company to establish their trading relationship with India and the rest of Asia. India and the rest of Asia. So they got a trade monopoly and came to India for the purpose of trading. So the history is very much aware. Of course, our debate is not telling all the facts. But what we have to understand, after entering into the Indian soil, slowly and steadily, British East India Company consolidate their position across the country. They established their settlements. See, after the death of one side, this is the one side, and their trading activities was their trading activities was gradually increased. But one unwanted happenings that took place in British East India Company, that is, most of the British officials who were involved, what we can call private trade. So as a result, they were separately earning more money. The finance condition was slowly deteriorated. So they earned more and more money, and they established extravagant life in Britain. Their life is comparatively very high than the members of the Parliament of Britain. Naturally, the members of the Parliament of Britain were jealous because what they thought that we are the members of the Parliament, we decide the destiny of the nation, but our lifestyle, our life condition is lower than the what we can call the merchants of the East India Company. So they have jealousy over the British East India Company. So they're waiting for the opportunity. in these circumstances, the years, that is, I think 1770s, the early years of 1770, the financial condition of the East India Company was deteriorated, and it almost reached the bankruptcy. So in order to save the company officials surrendered to the British Parliament, kindly save us, kindly save the financial crunch from the financial crunch of the East India Company. So now Parliament is in a position to take the decision. They say, okay, we are ready to help you, but point is, your activities, your works and powers, everything that was regulated by us, as means Parliament, British Parliament. So that they wanted to pass the first act against the East India Company, the name of Regulating Act. Regulating is nothing but to regulate the activities of the British East India Company. Okay, that is why it's called British Regulating Act. Of course, the Regulating Act was considered as very important as far as ourselves is concerned. That is Indian point of view is concerned, because Regulating Act was considered as the first ever act passed by the British Parliament for almost India, almost India. Or in other way, I can say it paved the way for the uniformed administration and the political integration of the nation, great nation. That is why I can say the what we can call the Regulating Act was considered as the first ever act passed by the British Parliament. So this act also paved the way for the establishment of judicial system, and that is English judicial system in India. Before that, we don't have any kind of English judicial system. We practice our own judicial system, that is Mughal judicial system, and in South India we have our own system. That is different, sir. That is different. What today we are practicing? Today we are practicing English judicial system. That judicial system laid the foundation through the what we can call the Regulating Act. Fine. So now we can admit the power of the East India Company was reduced and controlled. Even another act I can say, that is that act came after 11 years, in the year 1784. Year 1784. That act is maybe called what we can call what I should say the Pitt Indian Act. Pitt Indian Act. Pitt was the Prime Minister of England at the time, so the act is called Pitt Indian Act. Okay, fine. See, in this act, another check was against the Parliament. That is what we can say the Board of Control was appointed. See, the Board of Control consists of 6 members. The basic objective of the Board of Control was to regulate and supervise the administration of the East India Company. See, this Board of Control is appointed by the Parliament. It is answerable to the Parliament. That is Board of Control answerable to the Parliament. So the basic duty was to supervise the administration of the East India Company. So again, another check. And I would like to say another act. There are charter acts. We had 4 charter acts. Charter Act 1, 2, 3, 4. All the charter acts were passed with a gap of 20 years. Okay. See, the first charter act was the year 1793. Second was 1830. Third was 1833. Fourth was 1853. So 20 years gap. What was the basic objective of all the charter act? See, the basic objective of all the charter act was to extend the rule of East India Company for another 20 years. To extend the rule of East India Company for another 20 years. It means The parliament is clearly says or categorically says how long should you in India? How long should you in India? That is the point. How long should you? Should you? You means East India Company. East India Company, India. The first act extended for 20 years. Okay, you can rule. Go ahead for another 20 years. And after 20 years, again another act. So there was series of 4 charter acts that were passed. Each charter act says 20 years extension except 4th charter. Except 4th and final charter act. 4th and final charter act did not say whether the company rule extended for another 20 years or not. That is not said. Okay, fine. Apart from the Charter Act had other provisions. Some of the provisions are there. Even I can say the second Charter Act. See, second Charter Act, of course, it paved the way for spend 1 lakh rupees. Spend 1 lakh rupees for education in India. See, this was the first and foremost step took by the East India Company or the Parliament towards Indian education. Even never before they adopted such a policy. Even earlier they says, even the time of Parnastis and Cornwallis, even Wellesley also, they adopted the policy of non-intervention with regard to the education. So first time that they say 1 lakh rupees spent for the education on side. And also the trade monopoly of the East India Company was abolished on the other side. So far they enjoying the trade monopoly, as I already told you. That was abolished, the second chapter. See, one information, of course, it's not directly related with the constitution, but it is a duty to share with you. The 1 lakh rupees that spent for the education, the amount was not properly utilized because there was a series of debate with regard to the what we can say what I should say with regard to the medium of education. With regard to the medium of education, what kind of medium which we should introduce? Whether we can introduce what we can call the English education, whether we can introduce English education, or we can give the medium of vernacular language. Vernacular language is the local languages. There was a serious debate. Among the scholars with regard to the medium of education. Okay, fine. See, finally, English became the official language in 1835 on the recommendation of Lord Macaulay. Lord Macaulay, in his what I should say the minutes, Lord Macaulay in his minutes in the year 1835, he stated why English should be introduced in India. He argued 2 points. One is I totally disagreed and disapproved the point. Second one is I agree the words of Lord Macaulay. The first point he says, I quote, a single shelf of good European library is more worth than the entire literature of India and Arabia. A single shelf of good European library is more worth than the entire literature of India and Arabia. It's a totally nonsense word and idiotic statement because Macaulay was not aware of our literature and its values, even our famous what we can call the Tirukkural. So Tirukkural pointed out all the things. Even our Prime Minister, wherever he go, he always quote the Tirukkural. So such a valuable what we can call the literature we have, but that fellow is not aware of these things. But the second argument is very important, of course. I totally agree with him. That is what we can call second argument, or I should say there. What he says, We wanted to create, he says, we means that is English people. I quote, we wanted to create a group of persons who should be Indian in color, blood. Indian in color, blood, but English in taste, morals, and ethics. See, once again I will say, we wanted to create a person who should be Indian in color and blood, but English in taste, morals, and ethics. Of course, 100% is true. Because the role of English in India is very important. Of course, I am very much respected English as a language, undoubted. But most of the people are wrongly believe that English is not only language, but also it is what we can call the language of wisdom, or language of knowledge. No, it's not like that. Like other language, either Tamil, Malayalam, or Hindi, whatever in the languages may be, like that English also language. Of course, it got the international attention. That is a different story. But apart from that, there is no any place for English specifically. But what Macaulay argued, those people, those who are learned the English, they are acted as just like the English people, just like the English model. That is still it's going on. Still it's going on. So the statement was made, almost it's reached 200 years. But I strongly believe that this still is applicable. So most of our Indian mind towards the English is like Macaulay. Okay, fine. So fine. The third Charter Act was another important constitution development. This act laid the uniformed administration across the country, and Bengal became the headquarters of entire Indian continent, that is British India. And the Governor General of Bengal became the Governor General of India for the first time through the Third Charter Act was passed in the year 1833. Lord William Penting became the first Governor General of India. This was one fact you should understand. So, integration of the Indian administration was considered as another important feature of the Third Charter Act. And then coming to the Fourth Charter Act, I already told you, that is, Fourth Charter Act neither say the extension of the company for another 20 years, nor ending of the rule of the British East India Company. No, it's not saying. Why? Because even within the parliament, there was a split. One group of people strongly supported the East India Company. The company rule must be continued in India. The rest of the people strongly opposed the continuation of the rule, that is East India Company rule in India, because the company rule affect the name and fame of the Britain. That is why they opposed. So fine. In these circumstances, the parliament wanted to convince both the group. So they says they don't want to extend the rule of the company for another 20 years. At the same time, they were not stopped the immediate. They were not in a position immediately stop the rule of the East India Company. So as the result, you are very much aware. There was 1857 revolt, and as the end of the revolt in 1858. So it's naturally the rule of the company was abolished, abolished by the parliament, and the place of East India Company, parliament was replaced in the East India Company in the year 1858. Now we entered the second part, that is what we can call the constitution development under the British Parliament or the Crown, whatever you can say. See, this was started in the 1861 Council Act, first Council Act. See, the first basic objective of the first Council Act was laid the foundation for the parliamentary institution in India. Now you can say the parliament, bicameral legislature, state assembly, you have the assembly, election is going for the election, for the state assembly. So everything is there. So this, what we can call the institution, parliamentary institution, was laid only The first comes like that was the year 1861. Second point is introduction of the portfolio system. Introduction of the portfolio system. That is what we can call the separation of what I should say the separation of departments. See, before 1861, the administration, the portfolio was not demarcated. That means now you can say the external affairs, defense, home ministry, finance, urban development. So there are the number of departments. Each department was headed by one cabinet minister, or some department vested in the hands of prime minister. So, but whatever it may be, the administration was clearly, categorically demarcated. That is the point you should understand. So, the introduction of the portfolio system, or what we can say in another word, birth of the cabinet system. Birth of the cabinet system was in first comes like that is 1861. This is the first thing you should understand. And then second council act that was passed in the year 1892. See, in this act, of course, it was comparatively some advancement compared than the first council act. The advancement was the members of the parliament was increased one side. Members of the parliament was increased. Another thing is, in principle, election was introduced in India. In principle, election was introduced in India. That means election was introduced. People did not cast their vote. What's meaning? Election introduced. How? Without people cast their vote, and how it can be passed for election? See, there is no any role as far as people is concerned with regard to the election. Through the act, that is the second council act in the year 1892. That means the members of the parliament can be elected. Some of the body in the sense municipality or other form of the corporations, senate or syndicate of the universities, like that some of the governmental oriented bodies who were sent their representative to the parliament. This was called the election. There is no scope for the people cast their vote. Okay, this is the thing. So apart from that, for the first time, question hour introduced in the parliament. See, if you look at the parliament, the business of the parliament can be broadly divided into two. One is question hour, another one is 0 hour. Okay, one is question hour where members raise the questions, and then respective ministers answer the question. So this is called first question hour, and then second 0 hour. 0 hour means debates. So either general debate or if they wanted to conduct any debate, specific debates with regard to any bills and like that. So this is the thing. For the first time in the parliament, question hour introduced through the second council act. This is the things. So apart from that, some financial provisions are there, like budget were also introduced, everything. But you might understand all the things, either question hours or introduction of the financial bill, everything, what we can say there, subjected to reasonable restriction. Subjected to reasonable restriction. Okay, this is the things I should understand. Okay, fine. Now another council act, that is 1909 Minto-Marley Act. See, of course, in this act as another advancement act, members of the parliament was again considerably increased, and the separate electorate for Muslim that were introduced. So in India, for the first time, communal representation that were addressed through the Minto-Marley Act. Okay. passing to the another act, towards another act, that is after the Indomalia, and then Montagu-Chelmsford Act in 1990. Of course, this act considerable significance compared than the other acts, because this act created bicameral legislature. Bicameral legislature. Nowadays we have two houses in the parliament, Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha. That is bicameral legislature. So the bicameral legislature first time introduced by 1999. There is 1919 Act, or what we can call the Montagu-Chelmsford Act. Okay, this is the thing. Another important point I would like to mention: for the first time, election introduced. See, earlier I say election in principle accepted. In principle they accepted. This act, really they introduced the election. Really, they introduced the election for the first time in the year 1920. First election was conducted across the country. Even Tamil Nadu or Madras Presidency, at the time it was called Madras Presidency, election was conducted in which Justice Party won the large number of seats and came to power. That's a different story. So, for the first time, people cast a vote. Again, there was a check that we did not any kind of what we can call the adult suffrage, adult franchise. Only limited suffrage. That means who going to cast their vote? See, the people who going to cast their vote, there were some qualification. What is the qualification? Either they paid land tax or income tax, or the members of Senate or other bodies. So that means a kind of elite peoples have had the right to cast the vote. There is no question of adult suffrage that ensure in the present constitution under Article 326. That is, those who are obtained 18 years, they were eligible for the what we can call the casting their vote. That kind of provision was not introduced. Instead of adult suffrage, they introduced limited suffrage. This is a thing you should understand. Another important salient feature of this act I would like to mention: for the first time, Britishers allowed Indians to enter into the government activities, to enter into the business of the government. That means they introduced what we can call a kind of new mechanism. That mechanism is called diarchy. That mechanism is called diarchy. Di means two. Archy means rule. That is dual government. The diarchy was introduced in the provinces only, not at the center. It's the provinces only. And another thing is the diarchy in which there were two government. One was headed by the governor and his official. Another one was again headed by governor and his elected ministry. I already told you, Justice Party was in power after the 1920 election, in which Agaram Subrayudu Reddy, who became the first chief minister of the Madras Presidency, okay, under the governor of Madras. That's the things. So that means they accommodated some extent to the Indians, the part of what we can call the government business. Okay. Now, another act, of course, the last act I would like to tell, that is 1935 Act, what we can call Government Act 1935. See, this act is highly significant because many of the provisions of the present constitution are taken from the 1935 Act. See, of course, this act introduced the provincial autonomy. Provinces means state, already I told you. Provinces, 1919 Act, they introduced what we can call the diarchy. Now they abolished the diarchy at the provinces. Instead of diarchy, they introduced what we can call provincial autonomy. Provincial autonomy. This is the point you should understand. And then they proposed federation at the center. See, for the first and last occasion, and once again I underline the word, for the first and last occasion, the rulers decided to propose the federation. So nowadays, many of the political parties, particularly the political parties in Tamil Nadu, they rise in voice, that is federation at the center, autonomy at the state. Federation at the center, that is autonomy in the state. See, this was not in the present constitution. It was introduced only in the 1935 Act, federation. But what the British government says, we are ready to implement the federation with subject to subject to joining of the princes, subject to joining of the more than 50% of princes, princely states. So this is the things. See, most of the princely states rejected the proposition, what we can call it, federation. So the word federation was in theory, was letter, not in practice. Not in practice. But the present constitution never say the word federation. Okay, this is the point you should understand. Okay, now almost the history of the constitution is ended. Now we are entered into the what we can call the new part. I would like to mention, that is the present constitution. See, the year 1939 to 1945, the entire globe witnessed the Second World War. See, the end of the Second World War, that created many results in the world politics. Particularly, the role of Britain was replaced by the two superpowers. One was United States of America, another one was former Soviet Union. Okay. See, before the Second World War, Britain became the unchallenged power in the globe. So that they proudly can say, sun never set their empire, like that statement. But the point is, after the Second World War, the entire globe was totally changed. And there was a pressure to Britain, both internally as well as externally, to introduce the concept of decolonization. Introduce the concept of decolonization. In these circumstances, there was an election in Britain soon after the Second World War. In that election, the ruling Conservative Party voted out of power. Winston Churchill was the efficient and courageous and able Prime Minister who was responsible for Britain victory, replaced by Clement Attlee. Clement Attlee. That is, Clement Attlee belonging to Labour Party. So Labour Party came to power. Both Labour Party and Attlee were in favor of Indian independence. Not only Indian independence, independence of other nations also. Because why I am telling this point, the man Churchill, who is always against the freedom of India, particularly, the man who is very, very much particular against the independence to India. But Attlee was not like that. So as a result, soon after assuming office, he sent his cabinet minister, 3 cabinet ministers, named Patrick Lawrence, A.D. Alexander, Stafford Cripps, who were called the cabinet mission. All the 3 ministers were in the history called the cabinet mission, came to India in the year 1946. And they had a prolonged discussion with Congress and the Muslim League. And finally, they made several suggestions with regard to Indian independence. 2 points is very important. First, introduction of the interim government, implementation of the interim government, and then establishment of Constituent Assembly, which is responsible making up the constitution for free nation. This is the basic objective of a recommendation that is proposed by the cabinet mission. So as the result, the interim government was formed under the leadership of Jawaharlal Nehru on 2nd September 1946. That's a different story. The Nehru became the prime minister in the year 1946 itself. As far as the Constituent Assembly is concerned, of course, how the members of Constituent Assembly were elected? This was a major question. Whether they can directly elected by the people, it is not possible, because the leaders at the time, they strongly believed that it's not possible. Direct election is not possible. Then how we can elect it? The election for the Constituent Assembly may be a kind of a new mechanism. That mechanism, what we can call proportional representation by means of single transferable vote. By means of single transferable vote. So that means the members of the Constituent Assembly who were elected from the members of the Provincial Assembly. Members of the Provincial Assembly, then in the method of proportional representation. So this is the things. Okay, how we can elect it? See, the proposal as far as cabinet is cabinet committee stated, one member for Constituent Assembly, the population of 10 lakhs. One member for the Constituent Assembly, the population for 10 lakhs. So in that way, the Constituent Assembly, the members that was arrived almost 389. 389. Nearly Indian population at the time was maybe 39 crores. 39 crores. So they arrived at 389 members. This is for the undivided India. Mind it, this is for the undivided India, part of Pakistan as well as part of Bangladesh. Right. So the members is there, 389 members. So what is what we can call the classification or the component, how they should be elected? See, there was a communal representation are there, communal representation are there, and then a general representation are there. Everything is there. Even representation to the princely states, or everything is there. See, totally 389. Out of 389, 93 members who were supposed to elected from the princely states. Princely states. At that time, we had 565 princely states. 565 princely states. So the 565 princely state can send 93 members to the Constituent Assembly. Yes, some of the princely states are very smart. As far as Tamil Nadu is concerned, Pudukkottai is the only princely state in Tamil Nadu. So it's a very small princely state. So we don't have any representation as far as the Constituent Assembly is concerned, as far as the Pudukkottai state is concerned. But some of the states like Trivandrum, Hyderabad is such a big state. They can send either 2 members or 3 members like that. Okay. This is a kind of mechanism. So 93 members that were from the Constituent Assembly. And then rest of the members in which the communal representation also there. So everything that was separated accordingly. So finally the election was conducted and everything is arrived, and finally the total members that was clearly demarcated. Congress was got the 208 members, and then Muslim League almost 73 members, and others also got their members. So totally 389. So the first meeting of the Constituent Assembly was made on 9th December 1946 in New Delhi. So this was considered as the first day of making of the constitution. Okay, fine. See, in this first meeting, a senior most leader, his name was Sachidananda Sinha, who became the president of the Constituent Assembly. However, 2 days later, Rajendra Prasad became the permanent chairman of the what we can call the Constituent Assembly. Okay, so this is the things you should understand. You must understand. The first meeting was held on 9th December. In that meeting, only 211 members participated. 211 members participated out of 389 members. Okay. This is the point we should understand. Because Muslim League and the princely state decided to boycott the Constituent Assembly. Why? Muslim League demanded two-nation theory, that is separate nation for a separate country for Muslims in the name of Pakistan. Whereas princes, they neither joined with India nor with Pakistan. They always wanted to associate with the what we can call the paramountcy of Britain, that is supremacy of the Britain. So these are things both the groups decided to boycott the Constituent Assembly. Later they were joined. That's it. Okay, these are the things, and so the work is started. Various committees were appointed for the constitution work, particularly the Committee for Fundamental Rights, Committee for External Affairs, Committee for Central State Relationship. So there are almost 8 major committees were appointed for a major subject. All the committees, gave their reports and finally submitted everything. Finally, on 29th August 1947, 29th August 1947, drafting committee was appointed under the leadership of what we can call the Ambedkar, under the leadership of Ambedkar, who should be responsible for the drafting of the constitution. So that committee took the responsibility, and finally they dropped the entire constitution, and it was ready for the discussion in the month of February 1948. And also the overall draft of the constitution also circulated to the public for their opinion. Finally, in October 1948, the Constituent Assembly met for the first reading. The reading is what we can call what I should say there. Reading is the terminology that were used as far as parliamentary system is concerned. Because whenever they pass the law, any laws, they say that the laws should be crossed with 3 readings. Reading 1, reading 2, reading 3. Reading 1 means introduction of the bills. Reading 2 means the bill should goes to select committee. Reading 3 means passing of the bills. So this what we can call the process of the bill. So that is called the reading. So like that, the Constituent Assembly met in the year 1949, the month of October, for the first reading, and then the second reading was took place in the month of October, again the year 1949, next year, and then third reading was in the month of November. Finally, 26th November 1946, the present constitution was adopted. So one thing I would like to say before the entry into the constitution. See, on 14th and 15th August 1947, India became the independent, and also separate country was partitioned from India, that is called Pakistan. So the Constituent Assembly was also what I should say there, that was divided. So the members from the present Pakistan were cut their relationship with the present Constituent Assembly, and finally 299 members were confined for present India. 299 members for present India. So this is the things. When the constitution was passed on 26th November 1949, there are 284 members were assembled and discussed, finally signed the constitution, present constitution. This is the things we should understand. Now, we entered into the constitution, that is first introductory part, preamble of the constitution. Preamble of the constitution. Preamble is nothing but a preface of any book, like that in the preamble. See, in the preamble, what I should say here, preamble is the preamble, the concept that was introduced by the United States of America for the first time. They were introduced the concept what we can call the preamble, in which they say we the people of United States of America and like that. That means the basic purpose of the preamble to explain the basic objective of the constitution. Basic objective of the constitution. After that, almost all the countries who having written constitution, they adopted their own preamble. Even if you look at the Universal Declaration for Human Rights, UDHR, UDHR has its own preamble. That's a story. So like that, India also wanted to adopt what we can call the preamble. See, on 13th December, 1946, Jawaharlal Nehru moved the objectives of Indian Constitution. Objectives of the Indian Constitution. It was adopted in the month of January, that is 22nd January 1947. This may be called what we can call, later it became some correction or some amendment, it became the preamble. So the preamble was first proposed by Jawaharlal Nehru. That's the thing. So what is the importance of the preamble? See, the preamble, it's important, of course it's a very significant. There are four components that were in the preamble. What are they? See, first component, that was source of authority or source of power, that was explained. Where the constitution derived the source of power, how they can receive the power, where they can receive the power. This was the major question. See, the preamble of the constitution start like this, I quote, "We the people of India, we the people of India, having solemnly resolved," starting like that, "we the people of India having solemnly resolved." It means, we the people of India means the powers, the authority that were derived from the people itself. People from themselves. It's not from others. It is not from rulers. So whatever the powers that were possessing the constitution, everything that from the people. So that means people is the center of the all power. People is the center of the all power. This is the first component. Second component I would like to mention. Second component. That is what we can call nature of the state. State means in the here government. State means the government. Nature of the state. How the state should be. See, our state should be the sovereign state. India is a sovereign state. Sovereign republic state. Sovereign republic state. That means we never subordinate to any person, any state. So whatever we want, we can exercise all the things independently. Okay, this is the point we should understand. And apart from that, our state is a secular state, undoubtedly. Of course, the word secular is incorporated into the preamble of the Constitution in a later stage by the 42nd Amendment. There is different story, I will tell later. But the point is, secularism, the concept, very basic concept that was realized by the forefathers of the Constitution, and they categorically made the answer with regard to the nature of the state. Thus, during the time of independence, many of the newspapers and media asked what kind of strategy that Indian government adopted with regard to the religion, because Pakistan became the separate nation on the basis of their religion. Pakistan became the separate nation on the basis of their religion. So they categorically announced Pakistan is the Islamic state. Pakistan is the Islamic state. Their state religion was Islam. So, but then what about India? So we categorically says India respect all religion, and we adopted the policy of what we can call the secularism. That means we can give equal respect to all the religion. So that is the point we should understand. This is also mentioned. Okay. And then third aspect, objective of the Constitution, where I explained in the preamble. What is the objective? See, if you look at the preamble categorically says justice. What kind of justice? Economic, political, and social. The three justice that were ensured. So we ensure the political justice, economic justice, and social justice. Okay, that is the point we should understand. And then equality. Equality to all. That means equality before the law that were mentioned, the fundamental rights, Article 14. So equality, that is, we practice what we can call the what I should say, what administrative law. It's administrative law, of course, the rule of law. Administrative law was introduced by France. Rule of law. We introduced the rule of law, that is equality before the law. So equality also ensured. And liberty also says, liberty in the sense what we can call the freedom of speech, expression, belief, faith, worship, everything. Whatever you want, you can practice. So freedom ensured. And then fraternity, assuring individual dignity. So everything that was respected by the Constitution. Finally, this what I should say, the preamble says adoption of the Constitution. Adoption of the Constitution. How is this Constitution adopted? The last line says, the present Constitution today, 26th November 1949, do here adopt, enact, gives to ourselves this Constitution. Do adopt, enact, gives to ourselves this Constitution. This is the final line. So in which these are all the manner the present Constitution adopted. See, everyone is very much aware of that. Our Constitution came into being on 26th January 1950. But the entire draft of the Constitution was adopted by 26th November 1949. Why? This was the basic question. Of course, most of them very much aware of the answer for that question. But anyhow, I would like to tell you. See, the reason for 26th January 1950 was very historic. Why? Because in the year 1929, Indian National Congress met Lahore in the month of December. Under the leadership of Jawaharlal Nehru. See, Jawaharlal Nehru became the president of Indian National Congress in the year 1929 after his father, succeeding his father, His father Motilal Nehru was the president of Indian National Congress in the year 1928 when the Congress met at Calcutta. His son became the president of the Congress in the year 1929. The Congress met in Lahore. So this is a kind of what I should say, the nepotism or dynastic politics, whatever you call it. This was happened. Of course, it's a noble cause. Undoubtedly, it's a noble cause. We do not underestimate these things. Motilal and Jawaharlal. Okay, it's a different story. Fine. See, in this Congress, the historic Congress passed the resolution, highly historic resolution, that is, complete independence is the goal of Indian National Congress. See, there is a first step. It was the first occasion they passed complete independence. Is the Professor?
Sorry for the interruption, sir. This is the time for me, sir.
Sir, just 1 minute. Sir, just 1 minute and I will complete. Just 1 minute. One minute. See, in this Congress, passed for the first time, what I should say that complete independence is the goal of Indian National Congress. Never before they passed such a resolution. Never before they passed such a resolution. Even Balagangadhar Tilak says, Swaraj is my birthday, I shall have it. It's an individual aspiration. But the point is, what you should understand, for the first time Congress adopted such a resolution. Not only that, they decided on 26th January 1930 is the day of Indian independence. It's the day of Indian independence. At the time India was in British yoke, but they decided to celebrate Day of Indian Independence in the year 1930, 26th January. After that, every year they celebrated 26th January 26th January is the day of Indian Independence. But what happened? Our independence took place only 15th August. So as the result, they wanted to cherish the historical values of this day, 26th January. They decided to implement the constitution that is on 26th January 1950. So this is a reason for waiting of 2 months. With this, I say thank you. We will have the break and we will come back after the 10 minutes or whatever the time which you allotted to. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. So now the time for tea break. So I request all the participants, you can have your tea and please keep your line online mode only. Don't leave the line. So please stay back in the online mode. Have your tea. If you wish, you can switch off your video. Then I request you all to switch on your video at 11:45 a.m. 11:45 a.m. So thank you. Please don't leave the online. Please be there online mode. Have your tea and switch on your video at right here at 11:45 a.m. Thank you. So I request all the participants to switch on your video. So I welcome all the participants to the session. So please switch on your video. Professor,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
start, Professor.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. No problem.
Okay,
I will start.
please.
Okay. Welcome back. Of course, we are going to continue the rest of the matter. As far as after the preamble, I would like to address the two aspects of the Constitution. One is fundamental rights. One is fundamental rights. Another one is directive principles of the state policy. See, fundamental rights. That was before I start fundamental rights and everything. I would like to say one thing. The present Constitution having 395 articles, arranged in 22 parts or chapters. Originally 8 scheduled, at present 12 scheduled we have. And also article level of articles counting is of course that rise more than 460 articles. That's the story first, basic you should understand. See, fundamental rights is concerned. As far as fundamental rights is concerned, it was in the third part of the Constitution, starting from Article 12 to 35. 12 to 35. See, next part is the directive principles of the state policy. See, the basic difference between fundamental rights and the next part, that is part 4, directive principles of state policy, that start Article 36 to 51. There is a basic difference. Fundamental rights is a right guaranteed by the Constitution to its citizens, whereas directive principles of state policy is the guidelines by the Constitution to the states. State means government. Second point is fundamental rights should be enforceable. It should be enforceable by the court of law. Whereas directive principles of state policy was not enforceable. It is a guideline, just guidelines. You can follow or ignore. That is choice of the government. Whereas fundamental rights is a basic rights that guaranteed by the Constitution. At any cost, it should be enforceable. This is the things we should understand. Fine. See, first fundamental right, Article 12 to 35, in which almost 5 rights which were guaranteed. That is, first right, equality, Article 14 to 18, and then liberty, Article 19 to 22, right against exploitation, Article 23 and 24, religious rights, Article 25 to 28, cultural and educational rights, Article 29 and 30. These are all the 5 rights. And Article 32, it's not a right, it's not right. That is a constitutional remedy. It's the way in which how the fundamental rights can be exercised. Or in other words, those who are infringe of the fundamental rights, he or she can enter into either apex court or the high court by this article only. That is a constitutional remedy. Of course, the constitutional remedy is a very vibrant article. Without constitutional remedy, you can't exercise the fundamental rights. So that Ambedkar clearly pointed out, constitutional remedy, that is Article 32, is heart and soul of the Constitution. Is heart and soul of the Constitution. That is the point you should understand. Of course, many of my students ask me, sir, what about the right of property, sir? They ask. See, right of property is a part of the fundamentals. Right of property is a part of the fundamentals when the Constitution exists. But by the 42nd Amendment, sorry, not 42nd, 44th Amendment. By the 44th Amendment, fundamental rights that was eliminated from the right of property. Right of property was eliminated from fundamental rights. Now it is placed the Article 300A, placed in the Article 300A. Now the right of property is not fundamental rights, it's a legal rights only. Why is that? There was a story. Of course, there are many of the cases are there. I will tell during the working of the Constitution. Okay. So now we have a brief discussion, very quick discussion with regard to the fundamental rights. See, the first point is equality before the law. That is equality, Article 14 to 18. In which Article 14 says equality before the law and equal protection of the law. See, this is the rule of the law. This is the basic objective of the rule of the law. It means equality before the law. Right? So all are equal before the law. Either educated or not educated or uneducated. Either they belong to this religion, that religion, caste, whatever it may be. There is no question. All the persons from first president, from first citizen of the country to the last man, so everyone is equal before the law. This is the basic of it. And also in the supplementary article, Article 15, that clearly says there shall be no discrimination on the ground that place of birth, caste, religion, sex, and etc. So you should not make it any kind of discrimination. All the sections should be treated as equal. This is supplementary article. And of course, another supplementary article, Article 16, that clearly is pointed out, equal opportunity to the public employment. Equal opportunity to the public employment. So all the persons must have the equal opportunity to the public employment, so that everyone can, what we can say that their position, without any kind of discrimination. So these are all some articles. Of course, apart from that, even Article 17 that says abolition of untouchability. That was a very serious one. Even our government passed many of the Act in the year 1951, Untouchability Offences Act in the year 1951. Later it was amended in the year 1976, Protection of Civil Rights Act. So these are all the pave the way for the untouchability. Okay, fine. Another next fundamental rights I would like to mention, that is freedom. Article 19 to 22, in which freedom of speech, expression, freedom to assemble without arms, freedom to move to one place another, freedom to take our professions. So these are all the basic freedom that we enjoy. The question is, with regard to the freedom of speech and expression, of course, it's a very important point. Whether this freedom is absolute. This was the basic question. The very first amendment that was passed in the year 1951 that stated The Article 90, particularly freedom of speech and expression, come under the reasonable restriction. Come under the reasonable restriction. See, freedom of speech and expression is not absolute. It should be responsible. It should be responsible. That is the point we should understand. So whatever you want, you can speak. Whatever you want, you can write. No problem. But everything is making your accountability and your responsibility. That are very essential. And then I would like to address one article as far as this freedom is concerned, Article 21. It's a very, very important article as far as fundamental rights is concerned. Why I'm saying this, apart from other article, Article 21 is only article is implemented forever. It's implemented forever. That means during the time of the national emergency, under Article 352, President can impose the emergency the time of either a natural calamity or in the external aggression or any kind of internal disturbances. They can impose the national emergency. During that time, all the fundamental rights can be suspended. We cannot claim any one of the fundamental rights during the time of emergency. Under Article 358, President of India can suspend all the fundamental rights except Article 21. What's the meaning? What's the basic objective of Article 21? See, the Article 21 ensure life and liberty. Article 21 ensure life and liberty. So what is the life and liberty? See, I quote Article 21. I quote, no person shall be deprived of life except according to the procedure established by law. Except according to the procedure established by law. Okay. This is the point. No person shall be deprived of life. Deprived means elimination from his life. That means we ensure the life. See, later the Supreme Court gave many interpretations with regard to the life. Life is not merely life. Life with a dignity. Right to life is not only right to life, it should be a dignity. A human being must be treated as human being with a dignity. Apart from that, other rights, there are plenty of rights that were included in this article. Right to air, right to water, right to hygiene. There are a number of rights that were incorporated. This is the point you should understand. If any person illegally, what we can call kidnapped or other things, definitely this article made the actions against the country. See, there is one point I would like to mention. In order to ensure this article, government, our constitution gave the rights for its citizen to ensure the life, that is writs, that is what we can call writs. One of the writs that was called habeas corpus. See, habeas corpus is a writ to ensure the life of the individual. What's the meaning of habeas corpus? See, habeas corpus, I quote, literally it means a command. It's a command. I quote, command. Or order. It's an order. Or we can say the order. It's an order calling upon a person who has detained another, produced later before the court, in order to let the court to know what ground he has confined and set him free if there is no legal justification for his imprisonment. If any person illegally imprisoned or illegally detained by another person, the court can issue the writ against the culprit. Immediately you should produce the person, victim, and you should explain what ground he has confined, and the court can release if there is no legal justification for this consent, what we can call the detain. Okay. So this is the things here. It's very essential. Fine. This ensure the article 31, that is life, article 21, that ensure the life and liberty. Fine. Now another article, article 23 and 24, of course, it deals with the, what I should say, the right against exploitation. That means here they mention two types of exploitation. One is human trafficking, kidnapping the persons, encouraging begging. This is the first thing. Second thing is child labor. Because child labor was considered a very serious issue. Below 14 years old, the peoples were called child labor, who are employed. They were called child labor. So child labor at any cost should be prevented. So in order to ensure this article 10, 23 and 24 are there. And then article 25 to 28, of course, another important article that ensure the religious rights. It guaranteed the religious rights of every individuals. Not only rights, even they can go in and practicing whatever the faith they wanted. They paid taxes if it's needed, and they gave the attendance for the religious institution without any disturbance. So that means it is clearly proved India is a secular country. So this is the things. Another article that is associated with the education, I will tell later when we are discussing. So this is the things, fundamental rights. So you mind it, all the fundamental by court of law. This is the things you understand. Now, second aspect, that is the directive principles of state policy. It is unlike the fundamental rights. It's unlike the fundamental rights. That article starts from 36 to 51. It is the guidelines that were given by the state and given by the constitution to the state. State means the government. So it's a choice, it's a discretion of the state, either followed or ignored. Okay. So there are some articles that I would like to mention. Article 39A that deals with it. Free legal aids. Free legal aids should be given to the needy people. Free legal aids should be given to the needy people. Article 40 deals with the Panchayat Raj. It deals with local body. Of course, the local body nowadays it's mandatory. Government passed the Local Body Act, Panchayat Raj Act, the year 1992. But earlier it was not like that. Even when India became independent and the constitution came into being, almost all the states were not practiced local body. For the first time, Union government appointed a committee, Balwant Rai committee, for the recommendation of the Panchayat Raj. The committee recommended the three-tier system. After that, some of the states like Rajasthan, later Andhra Pradesh, introduced the Panchayat Raj, and some of the states were introduced, implemented, but it's not mandatory until 1992, because the act, the what we can say, the Panchayat Raj is only directive principles of state policy. It is not mandatory to implement that. So Rajiv Gandhi government decided to pass the Panchayat Raj Act in the year 1988 by 64th Amendment, but it was not to do so. Because the bill was passed in the Lok Sabha, it was rejected in the Rajya Sabha. So after that, again, another Congress government came into office in the year 1991 under the leadership of Narasimha Rao. In the year 1992, Panchayat Raj Act was passed, Panchayat Raj Act, and it was implemented 24th April 1993 onwards. See, the point is, not only they passed the Panchayat Raj Act, and also they created a new schedule, that is 11th schedule. 11th schedule that deals with the Panchayat Raj, whereas the 12th schedule, another schedule that was created, that is municipal administration, and also new what we can call the articles. That is Article 242. That is article was created, and also 73rd and 74th Amendment was facilitating this Panchayat Raj. That is 73rd Amendment paved the way for the creation of the 11th schedule. 74th Amendment, 12th schedule, that state Panchayat Raj and municipal administration respect. Okay, these are the things. Another point I would like to mention, that is Article 43, that is deals with the equal work for equal pay. There should be no discrimination with, based on gender. Equal work for equal pay. Article 42 deals with the human condition, particularly maternity leave and like that. Article 43 also deals with the right to participate in management affairs. Right to participate of the workers into the management affairs. This is another thing. Article 44 deals with the Common Civil Code. Of course, Common Civil Code is not practiced in India, but the Constitution proposed. Article 45 deals with the free and compulsory education for all. That is the things that we will discuss. And then Article 47 deals with the to improve the level of nutrition. So and then Article 48 deals with the protection of the environment and monuments like that. So there are a number of issues that were addressed in the directive principles of state policy, but some of the issues, some of the aspects that were already implemented by the Union government, but some were not implemented due to various reasons. Okay, fine. So these are all the directive principles of the state policy. That is things you should understand. Of course, parliamentary form of government is a very important one. If time permit, I will tell you, otherwise I can't. And now I entered into the another part, that is constitution for provision for education. Of course, Professor Sindranasa specifically asked me, you must say something about the constitution provision with related with the education. That's a very important thing, important component as far as this faculty induction program is concerned. See, constitution provision with related with the education. Okay, fine. Article 45, that is in directive principles of state policy, that stated free and compulsory education for all up to 14 years. Free and compulsory education for all up to 14 years. This is a very important point you might understand. See, this free and compulsory education for all up to 14 years, in the sense, its basic objective was to eradicate the literacy and give the basic education to all the people and abolish the child labor. This was the basic objective. But the article was in the, what I should say, the directive principles of state policy. Even though government decided or fixed several deadlines to achieve free and compulsory education for all up to 14 years, but it did not do so. So in these circumstances, what government finally did it, as long as this article, that is free and compulsory education for all up to 14 years, is in directive principle of state policy, we cannot achieve. So it is the best way, this article should be shifted from directive principles to fundamental rights. So as a result, in 2002, there was an amendment, 86th Amendment. 86th Amendment was passed in the year 2002. The amendment, this article 45, free and compulsory education for all up to 14 years, is shifted from fundamental directive principles of state policy to fundamental rights. Now it's placed Article 21A. 21 already there, already I told you, that is what we can call as a life and liberty. That is, I gave already explanation. Now they created a new article, that is 21A. what we can call 21A. Fine. See, in this new article, that is Article 21A was created, that was stated free and compulsory education for all up to 14 years. Now it's become fundamental rights. So at any cost, the state must be enforceable. Okay, otherwise court can do it. Fine. See, as a result, and then union government proposed some of the schemes to promoting the education, like Sarva Siksha Abhiyan, and then later what we can call Rashtriya Ucha Shiksha Abhiyan, that is RUSA. Yesterday, Mrs. Archana Thakur, Joint Secretary UGC, rightly pointed out with regard to the education. Particularly, what we can say, the eradication of the illiteracy. So these steps were taken by the union government to eradicate the illiteracy. Finally, in the year 2009, again, union government passed the act, Right to Education. Right to Education. See, Right to Education Act was passed. One important feature of the Right to Education Act was every private institution, every private educational institution, schools, must reserve 25% of seat for economically backward people. Must reserve 25% of seat for economically backward people. So this was a very important point. Even though people are belonging to economically backward community, but they had the opportunity to receive the education. And that is education, that means the education institution that were run by the private institution. Okay, irrespective of their economic status. Fine. Now, another point is, as far as the education is concerned, how we can protect the educational rights of the minorities. This was another question. See, fundamental rights, Article 29 and 30, that is clearly deals with the education of the minority. Particularly Article 29 clearly stated the educational institution should not deny admission to the students because of the minorities. Because of the minority. This is the one thing. And also, minorities had the right, what we can call, to, what I should say that, protect their script and the language. Protect their script and the language. This is the things we should understand. The Article 30, again going further, that state, I quote Article 30, all minority, whether based on language and religion, shall have the rights to establish educational institution of their choice. Once again, I quote, all minority, whether based on religion and language, shall have the right to establish and administrate educational institution of their choice. That means there are two types of minority in India. One is religious minority. We are saying the religious minority, other than the Hindus are the minority. And then linguistics minority. So linguistic minority may be changed from state to state. Tamil Nadu, other than Tamil speaking peoples, were the minorities. If you look at the Karnataka, other than the Canadian people, they were called minority. So the minority may be changed from state to state. But the point is, wherever they are, they have the right to establish the educational institution of their choice, so that we can see many of the minority institutions across the country. That's the thing. And another point I would like to mention, creation of Article 350A and B. 300 and yes. Anybody wanted to intervene with me? No. Okay. Kindly muted your mic. See, Article 350A and B, new article, two new articles that were introduced by 7th Amendment. By 7th Amendment. Okay. So this is the things. What is the importance of Article 350A and B? See, the 7th Amendment was introduced in the year 1956 when State Reorganization Act was passed. That means the states are reorganized on the basis of the linguistics. Okay. See, in these circumstances, Article 300A that clearly says all minority shall have the right to protect their languages, to protect their mother tongue. Once again, to protect their mother tongue. If you are living in Tamil Nadu, their mother tongue is Telugu, then they have the right to protect their mother tongue. If you are living in Karnataka, your mother tongue is Tamil, you have the right to protect your mother tongue. That is the thing. Article B also says President of India can appoint an officer, special officer, to investigate the status of minorities, their status of minorities and their languages. So these are all some, what I should say that, protection as far as minority is concerned, particularly the field of education. These are the things. And another point I would like to mention as far as education is concerned. See, education was the state subject. Education, particularly school education, was the state subject. School education was state subject until 1976. 42nd Amendment that was passed in the year 1976. It was considered as the mini constitution. It was considered as the mini constitution because there are many provisions that were in the 42nd Amendment. Even one point I would like to mention, the word secularism, the word secular, integrity and socialism were incorporated in the preamble of the Constitution by the 42nd Amendment. The word secular, socialism and then integrity incorporated in the preamble of the Constitution by the 42nd Amendment in 1976. Apart from that, school education so far in the hands of state subject. State subject. See, the entire power can be classified into three. That is union subject, union powers, and then state subject, and then concurrent subject. So union subject is the power of the union government only. They can exercise all the powers. State subject is exclusively power of the state government only. There is no space for the union government. Concurrent subject is joint venture, both union government as well as state government. So far, school education is a part of the state subject. Now it's shifted to state subject to union subject as a concurrent subject. Now it's become concurrent list. So now union government also have the opportunity to do something in the school education. These things you must understand. So these are all some aspects with related to the education. Even higher education also, of course, it's not directly mentioned by the Constitution, but the basic objectives of the Constitution was to eliminate the illiteracy. But in order to promote the overall development of education, Government of India took many initiatives for the promotion of education across the country. Particularly soon after the independence, they appointed a committee. That committee is called Radhakrishnan Committee for the promotion of the higher education, for the development of higher education. The committee was appointed in 1948. It submitted its report in 1949. Okay, fine. See, this committee gave the very valuable suggestion for the all-round progress of the higher education, particularly appointment of UGC, University Grant Commission, and then qualification of the teachers, and then quality-oriented education, development of research, and everything that was addressed by the Radhakrishnan Commission was considered as the, what we can call the Magna Carta of higher education in India. Radhakrishnan Commission may be called. After that, of course, another commission is appointed. I think Lakshmana Mudaliar Commission that was appointed in 1952. This commission is aimed to give the recommendation for the promotion of the secondary education. Later, 10 years later, another commission was appointed, that is Kothari Commission, the year 1964 to 66. The commission submitted its report. Of course, this commission report is considered as another very important point I would like to mention. It deals with all-round progress. That's all-round progress of the education. Kothari is the right person, it's rightly pointed out. The destiny of the nation will decide only in the classroom, he says, popular quote. Because education is considered as a very vital role for the development of any nation. Without education, we can't expect anything. Economic development, social development, and political development. That is why the destiny will shape in the classroom only. That is what I say. See, there are many of the recommendations as far as Kothari is concerned, but only one thing I would like to mention. That is, he recommended what we can call tri-language formula. Tri-language formula. That is three-language formula. In which one language is the mother tongue. Whatever the mother tongue, they can speak. Okay, fine. Another one is English. Either you can wanted to learn any one of the foreign languages, that is English. Okay, you can English. And then the last one is what we can call, what I should say, the any one of the national language. That is indirectly Hindi. So this is the tri-language formula. First introduced. This tri-language formula was accepted by the national education, first national education policy passed in the year 1968 when Indira Gandhi was the Prime Minister. See, the tri-language formula was most of the Indian states were almost either agreed, but few states like Tamil Nadu were vigorously rejected the tri-language formula. When DMK came to power in 1967, Anathurai, who became the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, he immediately passed the laws against the tri-language formula, and he proposed new formula, that is, English is ever, Hindi is never. Once again say the formula is, English is ever, Hindi is never. So this is the things. As a result, in Tamil Nadu is the only state, I'm very sorry to say, Tamil Nadu is the only state proposing only the bi-language, that is English, only Tamil. The rest of the language, there is no scope for, as far as we can learn the language from the government institution itself. Okay, fine. Another point that is I would like to mention, new education policy, one new education policy that was introduced by Rajiv Gandhi in the year 1986. Of course, Rajiv Gandhi introduced he made some innovation, both higher education as well as the elementary level education. Particularly, he wanted to introduce the non-formal education. Non-formal education. That means there is no question of systematic education. There are a large number of elders who do not receive the education systematically. So we can create, or we can give the education to the eldest people the way of what we can call the non-formal education or informal education. So that means the aim is to give or to learn the eldest people for reading and writing purposes. Apart from that, Rajiv Gandhi introduced what we can call the Navodaya schools. He wanted to introduce Jawahar Navodaya schools, across the country. That is the boarding and lodging school for the only economically backward people. That is the schools were established in each and every district. But Tamil Nadu is the only state that rejected the Jawahar Navodaya schools. Even though Kendra Vidyalaya is there, I agree with you. But the Navodaya school is not there. Okay. This is the things. Fine. And then as far as higher education is concerned, Rajiv Gandhi introduced open education system. Open education system, this is the sense it's different from the OER. Open educational resources, there is a different thing. Open education system, that is introduction of the open universities. The person who do not receive any systematic education like the school level, 10th, 12th, college, UG and PG, even the person who received their PG degree, even though who do not receive any kind of systematic education, and then he received after some age, either 25 years or more than that, he completed only his elementary education only, and he is eligible to enter into the program of master degree. So that is the system, breaking the systematic or traditional set of education. So this is the system what we can call the open university system. Indira Gandhi National Open University was the first ever university, I think so, in India. So after that, even in the year 1992, there was an amendment. That was proposed by the Narasimha Rao government. Particularly, they introduced entrance examination for some of the professional courses like medicines and engineering and like that. So this is the things. So almost after 36 years, 34 years later, the new education policies came. It was approved by the Union government in the month of July 2020. Of course, it proposed that there are many of the provisions, innovations. As far as the government argumentation is concerned, the policy is taking India into the next level. That is the point. So, as far as the higher education is concerned, of course, it breaks many of the provisions. First, it introduced the choice-based credit system. Choice-based credit system, not only at that, even they introduced academic credit bank, in which if you are joined the one college for one course and you completed 1 year UG and then you left the college and 2 years break, after that you can join another college. Again, you can save that course through the credit academic bank, and then you can join and you can secure the rest of the course and you can receive the degree. So this is the one provision, and the MPhil program discontinued. There are other provisions are there. Some old aspects are still retained. This is the thing. So fine. So these are all some education aspects which I would like to highlight. If you have any doubts or clarification, whatever you want, I can address. So now I pass on to the education, and I would like to quickly address how the constitution was working. That's working of the constitution. So already I told you working of the constitution means what I should say, that amendment as well as the judgment came from the apex court. Okay, this means the working of the constitution. Best example I would like to mention as far as amendment is concerned, how the constitution was working. See, when the constitution came into being on 26th January 1950, at the time, right of property is a part of the fundamental rights. Right of property is a part of fundamental rights. Now, right of property is not part of the fundamental rights, because by the 44th Amendment, right of property eliminated from the fundamental rights, and then now it's become the legal rights. So you do not, it's my fundamental rights. Of course, you can say, I have the right, I have legal rights to hold the property. Okay, no problem. But I do not say it's my fundamental rights. So because of the amendment, some of the what we can call the provisions can be amended according to the need of the hour. So this is the things you must understand. Like the same, the apex court have delivered many judgments from time to time with regard to the constitution. One example I would like to mention with regard to the Rajiv Gandhi assassination case. In the year 2013, there was a constitution bench headed by the former justice and the former governor of Kerala, Sadasivam, that stated what is the what they stated. The capital punishment of 7 accused of Rajiv Gandhi assassination case was reduced. The capital punishment was reduced to life imprisonment. See, as procedure, as all the judicial process is over, if a person who convicted either awarded capital punishment or life conviction, he or she can approach the President of India, the name of Mercy petition. Under Article 72, President is in position to give the pardon to the convicted persons. Say for example, if a person already what we can call awarded the capital punishment, the President can be reduced. He can reduce his punishment, that is from capital to lifelong imprisonment. If a person lifelong imprisonment, and then he may be released. So what I should say that the President have the power after all the judicial process are over, and then he gave his legal ruling. That of course it's kind of a legal ruling with regard to the conviction. But one thing is very much sure: if a person who awarded the capital punishment, but his mercy petition was rejected by the President of India, definitely there is no scope. He should be awarded capital punishment. And but what happened in the year 2013? The 7 accused, their mercy petition was rejected by the President of India, and they are ready for the hanging. So in these circumstances, Apex Court intervened, and they says they wanted to reduce the punishment of the 7 accused. They are going for the capital punishment. Now they were at the life imprisonment. And also they gave the verdict, that is the decision of the President. The decision of the President on mercy petition is subjected to judicial review. So far, the President decision never come under the judicial review. For the first occasion in 2013, government, that is the Apex Court, gave the interpretation with regard to the Article 72. As far as governor is concerned, Article 161. Okay, these are the things you must understand. Okay, fine. Next, as far as work is concerned, I would like to mention the first amendment of the Constitution. It's a very important amendment as far as working is concerned. See, the first amendment of the Constitution, of course, it came in India because of some reason. There are 2 cases that were filed. There are 2 cases named. One case was Ramesh Thapar. The case of Ramesh Thapar, Union of Madras. Another case was Champagam Thuraidasan, Union of Madras. Ramesh Thapar was separate case, Union of Madras separate case. Ramesh Thapar in this case, Ramesh Thapar was a left-wing leader who strongly criticized Nehru in his own journal, his ideology. Because he says, I have the freedom of speech and expression. He argued, I have all the rights. Second case, Champagam Thuraidasan. Champagam Thuraidasan was a lady who preparing the competitive examination. She questioned the communal representation that was passed by the Madras provincial government, that is colonial government, in the year 1927. She argued, now India became independent nation, why we should practice colonial laws, particularly the name of reservation. So in these circumstances, the judgments in favor of the Champagam Thuraidasan and Ramesh Thapar. Now government decided to pass the first amendment. In this amendment, as I already told you, there was a reasonable restriction on the exercise of the freedom of speech and expression. So we agree, we respect freedom of speech and expression is there, but everything there is limit. You should be responsible and accountable for the freedom of speech and expression. That was the very first amendment that made Article 19 with regard to the freedom of speech and expression. One point. Second point, many of the people were going to question whatever the proposal, whatever the government laws by the judiciary. With the help of the judiciary, they question almost all the laws that were enacted by the parliament. So in these circumstances, government wanted to enact the laws, particularly Jamindari abolition laws, laws related with the land tenures, land protection laws, like that. There are many of the laws, Land Sealing Act, many of that. So all the laws can be challenged by the court, because all the Jamindars and other people, they have the right of property. They have the right of property. So government do not anything, do not made abolition of Jamindari system, do not enforceable law of what we can call the Land Sealing Act. So like that. So in these circumstances, what they want, government wanted to create a safe haven. That haven is help us from the judicial review. That means, briefly I can say, whatever laws we wanted to pass, if the laws put in a safety haven, that where the judiciary cannot be questioned that haven. That means they create the 9th schedule. Parliament itself clearly stated, whatever the laws incorporated into the 9th schedule or included in the 9th schedule cannot be come under the judicial review. This is the point. Fine. So, as a result, the laws related with the land or land issues or Jamindari abolition, everything placed in the 9th schedule. So nobody going to the court and challenge the 9th schedule, because 9th schedule is away from the judicial review. Even very beginning in the year 1952, one lady, Sangari Prasad, Union of India case, she questioned the validity of the 9th schedule. How it's possible? How it's away, 9th schedule is away from the judicial review. Judiciary got all the powers. You can review whatever the constitution may be. At the time, Apex Court rejected the argument of Sangari Prasad and says, okay, we can interfere the ordinary laws that passed by the parliament, but we can't do anything as far as the amendment is concerned. Because 9th schedule was created on the basis of first amendment. So we can't do anything through the amendment, against the amendment. Of course, Supreme Court later changed its stand. That's a different story. So, but one thing you can understand, there are 280 laws in the 9th schedule. It's away from the judicial review. Even I would like to mention one thing. Tamil Nadu was the only state that possessing the 69% of reservation. Already 10 years back, Supreme Court clearly stated this reservation should not exceed 50%. But Tamil Nadu is the only state having 69%. How it is possible? Because Tamil Nadu reservation policy that was kept in the 9th schedule. So no court can challenge the reservation policy of the Tamil Nadu government. This is the thing. But one thing I would like to mention, even though judicial review is away from the 9th schedule is away from the judicial review, nowadays things is not like that. In 2008, there was one case, Supreme Court stated, even if it's needed, we can review the 9th schedule also. If it's needed, we can review the 9th schedule also. So I'm not sure about whether the 9th schedule, nowadays the 9th schedule come under the judicial review. Definitely it may be possible. But before 2008, whatever the laws which were put in the 9th schedule cannot be questioned by the Apex Code. This is the things we should understand. Apart from that, the working of the Constitution is concerned, there are many cases that are related with the working of the Constitution. But I think I'm not sure about it, whether time going to permit me or not. But here I would like to say one thing. Here I would like to stop. Here I would like to stop my words, and I invite you, whatever your doubts, clarification, or if you have indifferent opinion, you may ask me, and then we will have the discussion. Okay, this is the best way. Professor?
Yes, Professor. Thank you, Professor. Thank you for your elaborate and highly informative lecture, sir.
Oh, thank you.
I request the participants. So, if you have any clarification, you please unmute your mic and interact with the resource person or honorable resource person. So, really, the lecture delivered by Professor Asokan sir is really very interesting on the Constitution of India. I hope you are enjoyed the lectures delivered by Professor. So I request the participants, you please be interact with the resource person so that you can get clarified your doubts. So those who have any doubt, you please unmute your mic and put your question to the professor so that he can answer. And there is an announcement to all of you. Please don't forget to submit your feedback form. Okay, after the interactive session. Okay. Yeah, I think few of you are having some doubts. So you can please interact with the resource person. And
yes,
at the end, I request the participants to deliver the vote of thanks, proposed vote of thanks. Please.
yes. Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, good afternoon.
Yes, this is Nirmal Singh here from Tamil Nadu National University. Thank you for your informative session, sir.
Which university?
Tamil Nadu National University.
National. Okay.
Yes, yes. I'm not asking any questions about the legal aspects, but I'm asking about the historical perspective.
Okay, sir.
So my first question is, somebody else are telling that, or even we are studying that the Constitution of India is a borrowed constitution.
Sir, I can't hear you, sir. Once again.
Sir, are you able to hear me?
Yeah, okay, fine.
Yes, sir. Somebody else are telling that, or we are teaching, or telling that the Constitution of India is a borrowed constitution. We can tell that where we have taken from the fundamental rights. The fundamental rights have taken from the United States, and the parliamentary form of system has been taken from UK government, and the DPSP from Irish constitution, etc., etc. We can quote like this. So in this aspects, what was the opinion of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar while drafting the Indian constitutions? And the second question is, as you rightly pointed out, that the education now is included in the concurrent list. But initially, when it was drafted in list 2, that means under the state list, why, for what reasons, on what historical aspects? I think, if I'm right, that Indira Gandhi ji has shifted the education from state list to concurrent list. Would you think that, or as a private bill has been moved by Marumalarchi Dravida Munnetra Kalagam Chief Secretary, I think Dr. Y. Rajagopal, by Kopalasamy in the Parliament, to move the concurrent to state list? What is your personal opinion on the historical aspects?
Okay.
Or we can directly shift the education from concurrent list to union list? Because going on, and you know very well that how we can get the 7.5% reservation in state of
I can understand.
Yes, sir. Particularly, I can tell that, sir, I hope that you are a married man. Yes, sir. When you are a single person, your father can control you. But when you married, can your wife be allowed you to control by your father? So in such a way, we have to speak about the central government as well as the state government, because our Honorable Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, Dr. Edappadi K. Palanichami, has established 13 medical colleges only for the purpose of the Tamil Nadu student. But at the same time, what we are facing, that is the situation I have to ask. Sir,
Okay,
is
sir.
that
Okay. Actually, with regard to the first question is concerned, the opinion of Ambedkar with regard to the entire constitution, but of course, I am not deeply analyzed the exact quote of Ambedkar, exact quote of the matter. Somebody told something, but I am not making that point here. It's a valid argument. But one thing I can say, as far as fundamental rights, he says that's quote that is the heart and soul of the constitution. That is the Article 32. That is the constitution remedy. So okay, that is good. But the entire text that is I am not aware of things, so I don't want to make it any kind of speculation. So I leave it to that question. Okay. Second argument is with regard to the education. With regard to the education, particularly that shifted to the state subject to what we can call the concurrent list. Of course, you gave the answer to me already. But the point is, Union government at the time Indira Gandhi was in power and even emergency declared the emergency. So she wanted to what we can call established her political supremacy, not only at the center, not only in the judiciary, not only even extended to the state itself also. So one side, even the regional parties, what we can call the Tamil Nadu regional parties, DMK or ADMK, they were already fight for the what we can call the state autonomy. But central government, irrespective of either Congress or BJP, almost all the central government wanted to establish their political supremacy, so that they wanted to shift it. They wanted to took one after another subject like education and other things into their control. So that I think you as a law professor, you are very much aware. The Indian constitution is not come under the federation. Okay, it's not come under the federation. Of course, quasi federation we can apply. It means union government is undoubtedly it's a supreme one. So they wanted at any cost they wanted to establish such a supremacy. So that is the reason the education has come under the what we can call the one thing concurrent list. And also you are rightly pointed out whatever the colleges that were introduced in Tamil Nadu and other things for the benefit of the Tamil students, Tamil people. But how long it's going to benefit this are the important questions. Of course, it leads to the another form of a kind of debate. It has taken more time. So in this time, I don't want to discuss more in this aspect. So I invite other persons because they wanted to ask me some questions. Okay, we will give the space on other people. Okay, other faculty members can raise the question.
Any more question from audience side? So if no more question from audience side, I invite one of the participants, Ms. Deepa M. Ms. M. Deepa, to propose the vote of thanks to our resource person, Professor Asokan sir. So,
Yes, sir.
Deepa ma'am, you please unmute your mic and propose the vote of thanks to the resource person.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, madam, you are audible.
So, good afternoon to the August gathering. I am Deepa Manikam, Assistant Professor of Law, Tamil Nadu National Law University, Tiruchirappalli. So, on behalf of Bharathidasan University, UGC, HRDC, I feel honored and privileged to deliver this vote of thanks. A special heartfelt thanks to Professor Dr. Sendilnathan sir, who was the driving force behind the special lecture and as well as the program. I would like to convey my sincere thanks to our FIP4 coordinator, Professor Dr. Sandanam sir. Without his coordination, the lecture is never possible at all. A huge gratitude to you, Professor Dr. Asokan sir. Thank you, sir, who is an Associate Professor, Department of History, Bharathidasan University. Sir, for your enormous cooperation and providing historical insights on this significant topic, which is really the need of the hour. We all gathered plenty of data on the Constitution of India through your incredible minute input. The list provided in the committee schedule, the impact of Kothari Commission and other reports, especially the education reports, and also emphasizing on Magna Carta. By rendering more examples and case laws, you made this session as an enlightening one, sir. Thank you so much for that, sir, and thanks again for grabbing few hours for us amidst your hectic schedule. A deep sense of appreciation and thanks to being conveyed for all my respected and learned colleagues who are the backbones for this event. Thanks once again, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, madam, for your nice vote of thanks, proposing nice vote of thanks. So I once again, on behalf of HRDC of Bharatdasan University, I convey my sincere thanks to our resource person, Dr. Asokan sir, for his excellent and elaborative lecture on a very important topic, Constitution of India. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Madam, Diva ma'am. So, yeah, now, dear participants, this is your time to.
Sir, sir, you.
Yes, sir. Please, sir. Thank you, sir. Yeah, I think the representative from HRDC Center, you please share the feedback form. Already it is shared with the participant. So I request all the participants, you please submit your feedback form for this session, today's morning session. I hope I am audible to everybody. So please submit your feedback form. It is already given. The feedback form link is already given. So you please use that link.
Sir, is it the link which was sent yesterday?
Yeah, the same link. You can just go through that link.
Okay.
There the date will be mentioned. Today's date will be mentioned. If you find any difficulties, please contact me so that I can help you.
Yes, sir. Understood. Thank you, sir.
Sir, good afternoon, sir. ನಮ್ಮ feedback form ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ. Thanks, sir. Yeah, participants, the feedback form link already given to you so that you can use the same link, for all days, all the technical days. And if anybody not received so far, you can check your WhatsApp so that we will send that the link. So after submission of the feedback form, you can log out and you can please log in sharply at 2 o'clock and register your attendance. So the afternoon session will start at 2:10 with the introduction of resource person, afternoon resource person. So the afternoon resource person will be introduced by Ms. Deepa madam. Deepa Manikam will introduce the resource person, and the voter thanks will be proposed by Dr. M. Amuda ma'am. So don't forget to submit your feedback form, please.